Welcome to Wellness Talk. This is George Batista, your host. Wellness Talk is a show that goes over the latest in health and healing, nutrition, and supplements. We take the mystery out of supplements and we take the mystery out of health. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. And I hope all you fathers out there had a fantastic Father's Day and spending time with your kids and just enjoying each other because one of the greatest things you can do is become a parent, become a dad for the fathers out there. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you go to georgebatista.com. That's where all the articles that we go over are housed. And by the way, you can also not only look at the articles that are there, but you can see recordings of this show there as well. And you can see the audio or you can listen to the audio. So either way, whichever way you like to consume this show, it's all there, whether it's audio and video. So make sure you enjoy it and make sure that you like, share, and subscribe because the numbers are going up every single week. We're in so many countries now, so people all around the world are enjoying this material. So if you really enjoy it and get a lot out of it, make sure that you, again, like, share, and subscribe with your friends and family because it's important to get this information out of there. Because at the end of the day, it's about empowerment. It's about empowering as many people as possible to become as healthy as possible, right? You know, if we can do it, I used to do it one by one when I used to counsel people, but I felt that it was better to do it on a more massive scale because we reach more people and, kind of tip the scales as far as getting the globe as healthy as possible. So thank you again for supporting this show, everyone who listens in. Now, we're going to talk about our topics for this week. And our topics are going to be this week are going to be more solution oriented because last week, if you listened to the show last week, we talked about cartilage, we talked about things like arthritis, we talked about inflammation, knee inflammation, joint inflammation, and those types of things. We did talk about solutions, but we weren't heavily focused on it. So but if you want to hear that information, you make sure you go and check out that episode because there was a lot of interesting information about how cartilage works and what damages it, and what are the things you need to do to really help out with that. But on this show, it's going to be pretty much mostly solution oriented when it comes to joints and joint health and skeletal muscles and those types of things. Okay, so first thing we're going to look at is the 8 natural treatments for arthritis symptoms. And I think this is going to be very, very powerful because, a lot of people really want to get those types of solutions. So I think this information is going to be very, very powerful for you guys. And, so if you're currently already experiencing arthritis and you want to look at some natural treatments, this is a great way to do it. Just check out some of these things. Some of them may work for you better than others, obviously. So you have to kind of gauge what's better for you. But even if you do a few of these, or again, share a few of these with people who have these types of symptoms, it's a good thing because I think again, everybody's different, but the solutions are there. So you can definitely check those out. Then from Wellness Resources, we're going to look at Boswellia. Supports joints, bones, metabolism, brain, and more. Now, Boswellia is one of those solutions. And this is a great article on this nutrient, this bioactive compound. And it's been really heralded for centuries as far as being used for inflammation and connective tissue support and that type of thing. So we're going to go deep into what Boswellia is and how it supports your joints, the active compounds, ingredients in it, and how you can use it, again, if you are dealing with any kind of joint inflammation and stuff like that. Then we're going to talk about our nutrient spotlight for the week is going to be kind of piggyback off of that, is going to be on the bone and joint helper from Wellness Resources, because not only does that contain Boswellia, but it also contains other compounds, kind of a comprehensive support for bones and joints and inflammation. So it's a great supplement that you guys can use if you're looking to add it to your regimen, again, for inflammation. And then finally, I'm going to talk about just kind of a little commentary on what I do to help my bones and my joints and that type of thing to make sure I keep them as healthy as possible because I'm getting older, right? We're all getting older and I want to make sure I keep them in great shape. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the exercises that I do. One of the things I'm going to zero in on is foundation training. Some of you may, I've talked about it in early episodes of this show, but it definitely does bear repeating because it's such an important part of what's helped me, especially with my spinal issues. So, any of you who dealing with spinal issues and things like that, or just joint problems in general, and want to find an easy solution to help you with keeping the joints and the back and that type of thing strong, definitely listen into this because foundation training is one of the best things to do, and it's a fantastic thing. So check it out. And just so you know, Wellness Talk is brought to you by Wellness Resources. Wellness Resources is a 35-year-old supplement company. They're at the forefront of clinical nutrition. They provide some of the best supplements in the world. So definitely check them out at myvitaminresource.com. And if you put in the promo code counterparts, you will get free shipping on all orders. Okay, so again, it's any size order. So again, counterparts, and if you put in that promo code counterparts, you'll get free shipping on all orders. So check it out, myvitaminresource.com. All right, so let's get started with our first article. And this is 8 natural treatments for arthritis symptoms. Now, so those of you who listen to the show know that I like to do the numbers first, and I like to go over, just some quick facts, just so you guys get a perspective of the facts out there, and then I'll go into more of the specifics as far as what it is that you guys can do and stuff like that. So first of all, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 50 million Americans now suffer from some form of arthritis. That equates to 1 in 5 people over 18 having some form of arthritis. Okay, so the most common type is osteoarthritis, or let's say, inflammation of the joints and that type of thing. Of course, they say it's from wear and tear and that type of thing. So some quick facts on it. Arthritis is the number 1 cause of disability in the U.S. And an estimated 50% of adults living in the United States who are over age 65 now report receiving receiving a diagnosis of arthritis from their doctors. Arthritis doesn't just impact older, though. There are children. Okay, almost 300,000 babies and children have arthritis or a rheumatic condition, right? Because we also have rheumatoid arthritis, which is more of an autoimmune condition as well. Okay, but 2/3 of people with arthritis are under the age of 65, and it's now estimated that by 2030 there will be 67 million Americans over the age of 18 suffering from arthritis. So just some numbers just to kind of put things in perspective when it comes to arthritis and joint problems and that type of thing. So obviously, there's a lot of natural things you can do if you are suffering from arthritis. And again, one of the things I talked about in the last podcast with it was injections. A lot of people do get those injections as well. And I know it does help with the pain, but one of the problems with that is that it does cause cartilage cell death, and that is a problem. Okay, so again, it's a catch-22 situation. But so things you can do that are anti-inflammatory, things you can do that can help your joints in general. Let's talk about it. Let's go from from starting at 1, and we'll go down the line, and we'll talk a little bit about it. So the first thing you want to do is reach a healthy weight. Okay, so you have to remember that fat, okay, when it comes to fat, people used to think in the old days that actually if you had excessive fat cells and stuff like that, that fat was just stagnant. Okay, it was just a storage place for extra calories. Okay, well, now the science has changed on that. Now we know that fat is not just a storage place. Fat is actually moving, and there's hormones that are actually working with fat, and fat is actually creating, it's releasing hormones and storing hormones and chemicals, and it's going back and forth on a regular basis. It's actually, if you think about it, fat cells are alive, right? So they're storing, they're releasing. You're dealing with hormones like leptin, hormones like adiponectin. Okay, these are hormones that deal with your metabolism and deal with how much energy you have, and hormones that travel to your brain to give you kind of the full signal and tell you that your body has enough energy. All that stuff is released from fat cells. Okay, so now the University of Michigan School of Public Health reports that adipose tissue, once considered a passive storage portal of energy, is now recognized as highly metabolic endocrine organ and has the capacity to secrete active agents, again, such as what's called adipocytokines, such as leptin, resistin, and adiponectin. Okay, so over the past decade, interest in these type of adipocytokines has quickly become an area of intense study. Now, with respect to osteoarthritis, they've realized that based on evidence that they may play an important role in cartilage homeostasis. Now, we all know that homeostasis is a balancing that your body is always trying to get to every single day, right? So it's the interplay or the difference, right, between chronic inflammation and no inflammation, right? So your body's always trying to balance that to get to a point of homeostasis where everything is kind of at a normal level, right? So there's also cartilage homeostasis in this process. So again, cartilage also is within that whole process of storing and releasing and all that. Okay, cartilage also plays a role in that as well. So maintaining a healthy weight is going to help, because again, you also have to remember the 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 other thing is the actual pressure that you put on your joints. Okay, remember, when you take a step, right, when you take a step, there's a certain poundage of pressure that the body is designed to hold, and that your knee joints and the cartilage and everything are designed to hold when you're taking a step, right? But now when you have the excess weight, now you're doubling and tripling the amount of pressure that goes on that joint and also the cartilage and that type of thing. So it makes a difference, right? So the body now has to try to your body has to try to adjust for this, because there's a lot more weight bearing on this. So if you can keep yourself at a healthy weight, that is actually lessening the pressure on the cartilage, lessening the pressure on the joints, and that's less of a problem later on as far as dealing with any kind of inflammation problems and that type of thing. Okay. Second thing is improve your diet. Okay, things like omega 3s. They're powerful anti-inflammatories, especially the EPA. The EPA, now in the omega 3s, especially if you get the gels, right, usually you get EPA and DHA. EPA is the anti-inflammatory part of the omega 3s. Okay, so but changing the diet as well, when it comes to wild caught fish, salmon, those types of things. Those are the fantastic stuff. Wild caught salmon, those give you the great EPA and DHA when it comes to a natural source. So eating those types of things is great, very anti-inflammatory, but also taking a supplement is fantastic too if you're really dealing with a lot of inflammation. Foods high in sulfur. Okay, sulfur contains a form of what's called MSM, and it reduces joint inflammation and helps to rebuild your tissues. Now, MSM is also sold by stores and stuff like that as a supplement. You can take it as a supplement, but if you eat sulfur containing foods, that actually contains MSM as well. So sources include onions, garlic, asparagus, cabbage, all that has MSM, again, which is anti-inflammatory. Another thing you can use is bone broth. And by the way, these are all in number 2, just so you know that. Bone broth is one of the best sources of collagen. We talked about collagen on the last show and how collagen affects cartilage and how it affects your knees and your joints and stuff like that. Okay. But the collagen contains amino acids, proline, and glycine that help to rebuild the connective tissue and have many, many more benefits. Okay. So it's very, very important. Okay. Then we have high antioxidants. In the last show, we also talked about how oxidation affects cartilage and joints, right? We talked about how your antioxidant status or lack thereof will play a major role in if you have an inflammatory problem. And they found that actually your lack of antioxidant status is a huge issue when it comes to your joints. So anti-inflammatory foods, right? The colorful fruits and vegetables, that is huge. But again, the vitamin C's, the vitamin A's, the magnesium, potassiums, digestive enzymes, all the inflammatory compounds, the cruciferous vegetables, all that is anti-inflammatory. Then we have the high fiber foods, right? High fiber not only controls your appetite, it helps you with cholesterol issues. It's also great for digestive health. It's also great for constipation, but lowers the risk of various other diseases and complications as well. Okay, so taking in the high fiber foods, the flax seeds, all that stuff, again, anti inflammatory, but it's an overall systemic benefit to your system. So all those things fall into just this category of two of anti-inflammatory foods and compounds. Then we have number three, stay active. So you want to obviously stay active. We talked about in the last show how our joints are hydraulic. We talked about how they need movement. The synovial fluid provides all the nutrients. Okay, so you need that synovial fluid to be moving. This is why when you sit for long periods of time, and then you get up, right, your joints tend to be stiff because they're not getting that lubrication that they need. Now keep in mind that again, joints and cartilage they don't have a great blood supply, so you have to move in order to make sure you're getting as much nutrition as you can in those joints. So movement is going to be key. Obviously you want to exercise, and I'm going to talk a little bit about exercise later in the show, just so you guys again can get a sense of what I do. Okay, so movement is going to be huge for that. And also keep in mind that movement can help to build the muscle tissue around your joints, right? And to help to make sure that, because the more the stronger your muscle tissue is around your joints, the better it is as far as shock, right? And that's actually going to help to hold things together. So you want strong muscles around your joints. Very, very important. Number four, get chiropractic care. Now, chiropractors have a great way of seeing the body. Okay, I've been to a chiropractor again with my spinal issues. They have a great way because they look at the body as a whole. They know that if you have spinal problems, that can affect the knee, that can affect the hip, that can affect the foot. Okay, it's all connected, right? Or the other way around, right? You end up with knee trauma, okay, which can change the way you walk. That can change, which actually can eventually cause inflammation on the hip, can cause lower back problems, and the domino effect happens from there. So chiropractic care is great because it addresses the spine, but it also eventually will have an effect on the hips and the knees and all the way down to just you walking. It's really gonna have a beneficial effect. So definitely, if you have problems, especially with the spine, I would suggest always seeing a chiropractor. A good chiropractor can do some great adjustments. And if they know what they're doing, they can really get you. And keep in mind that you have nerves that come out of your back, right? You have all these nerves that come out of your back. They control part of your autonomic nervous system and that type of thing. You have what's called a brachial plexus that comes out of your shoulder, that comes down the arms, right? So if you get a pinch up here in the shoulder area, it can actually affect. You can get numbness or tingling and pain coming down the arm, radiating down the arm, or even down one of your fingers. You can also get carpal tunnel syndrome that way. That can start from a pinch up here. Again, things like chiropractic can help all that, right? So very, very important. Number five, proteolytic enzymes. Enzymes, again, provide an important part of it because they're helping with anti-inflammatory effects because they improve overall gut health and overall immunity. Now, remember, especially with rheumatoid arthritis, okay, I mean, I know we've been talking a lot about osteo, but rheumatoid arthritis, because it is an autoimmune condition, they have found out most of the time it comes from the gut, especially what's called the leaky gut. Okay. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But if you can control the gut and you can actually make sure that the gut is in good shape, that's less of an issue that you may have when it comes to rheumatoid arthritis or any kind of autoimmune issues, because typically that's where they start. 70% of your immune system is in the gut, right? So you got to think about that. Number six, consume ginger and turmeric. We've talked about those two compounds on this show many, many times. 2005 report published in the Journal of Medicinal Food stated that ginger extract derived from it's called zingiber, and different types of plant species, that inhibits the induction of several genes involved in the inflammatory response. Okay, and this includes cytokines, chemokines. Okay, all different types of cytokines that cause, big inflammation in the system. Okay, so very anti-inflammatory. Turmeric and ginger, definitely take those if you're dealing with inflammation. Now, one study conducted by the Nirmala Medical Center in India investigated the effects of turmeric supplements given to rheumatoid arthritis patients compared to using to use of conventional arthritis drugs. And the curcumin or turmeric group showed the highest percentage of improvements overall, significantly better than the patients in the groups that were taking the arthritis drugs. I mean, literally, turmeric outperformed a lot of these drugs in this study. So, again, this is something you should definitely check out. Number 7, Boswellia, which is one of the things we're going to talk about today. So I'm not going to focus on this right now because in our next segment, we're going to talk about Boswellia and how important it is. And then number 8, add comfrey, that's COMFREY, to tropical creams. Okay, comfrey is a medicinal herb and it's been shown to help with pain and makes a great addition to any type of topical, not tropical, topical treatments for arthritis. Okay, so comfrey is very, very good. And there's been research on this in the Journal of Chiropractic Medicine. It examined 43 male and female subjects aged 45 to 83 diagnosed with osteoarthritis in the knee. And there was 3 groups of them, 10% or 20% comfrey root extract or placebo. Okay. And the participants applied the cream 3 times a day for 6 weeks and were evaluated every 2 weeks. The results showed that both active topical comfrey formulations were effective in relieving pain and stiffness and improving physical functioning, and were superior to placebo in those with primary osteoarthritis of the knee without serious adverse effects. So fantastic stuff. So definitely something, and I'm sure a lot of these, some of these creams may already have that in there, but it's something you can take a look at. Again, these topical creams, very, very good stuff. So these are just 8 things you can do. Again, take a look at any one of them to see if they help you if you're dealing with any kind of osteoarthritis, but it's something you should check out. And, I think it'll be beneficial for you. Okay, next, from Wellness Resources, Boswellia supports joints, bones, metabolism, brain, and more. Now, Boswellia, also known as frankincense, is an Ayurvedic herb. It's been used in India, China, and the Middle East for centuries, and it's actually been used for joints and connective tissue support. Okay, so we'll talk about the compounds that are in Boswellia. Consist of different types of compounds, especially some called boswellic acids like AKBA, and flavonoids that influence the expression of activity of multiple mechanisms in the body. Now, these unique bioactive compounds modulate NF-kappa B, 5-lipoxygenase enzymes, leukotrienes, and leukocyte elastase enzyme activity, and others. Now, NF-kappa B and many of those signals are inflammatory responses. Okay, and it's one of the ways where the body tries to inhibit inflammation in the body. But again, your joints need cleanup, especially if there's a lot of inflammation in there. Okay, so Boswellia helps with the not only inflammatory response, but it also helps with cellular housekeeping, especially when it comes to joints, lungs, blood vessels, bones, brain, gut, and more. So Boswellia is one of the best things you can use. Now, there was a systematic review and a meta-analysis of multiple randomized controlled trials published in 2020 confirmed that Boswellia extract provided effective and safe support for joint health, mobility, comfort, and function. Okay. And the best results happened within at least 4 weeks of use. So 4 weeks after Boswellia use, people started seeing really, really feeling and seeing the benefits. Okay. There was another 2019 double-blind placebo-controlled human trial evaluated the effectiveness of Boswellia for knee pain. Okay. And they found that those who received the Boswellia experienced improvements in mobility and flexibility compared to the control group. And the x-rays and lab markers validated the functional improvements. So think about it. Not only did they feel better, but you could actually see it on the x-rays and the lab markers. That's huge. Okay. And this was just the Boswellia. So fantastic stuff, to really think about. Now, how does Boswellia and affect your bones? Well, in your bones, you have these two different types of these two different types of things happening. You have what's called osteoclasts. Osteoclasts are the taken down of old bones. Okay, these are these breakdown cells that happen, and then you have the osteoblast, which build bone. Okay, so you have this constant interplay between these two types of bone building or bone repairing cells. Okay, osteoblasts are the highest when you're a child. Why? Because you are building bone at a very rapid rate, right? So osteoblasts are really, really high. They're building your bone, that type of thing. Once you're done with growing, then you have kind of more of an evenness between the two, right? So you have bone building, bone stripping, bone building, bone stripping, that type of thing. But then as you start to get older, then the scales start to tip more towards the osteoclast, right? So, you end up with and this is where if you're not taking care of yourself or you're not, using your bones, you're not exercising, not taking the proper nutrients, where the scale starts to really, really tip, where bones start to thin out, right? You get into your middle ages and you start to get bone thinning and you start to get, osteopenia, osteoarthritis, osteoporosis, those types of things. Okay. So, but again, it all starts with the osteoblast and the osteoclast. So now, Boswellia, okay, they found that with age, hormonal changes, and oxidative stress, it actually started to slow down the osteoclast activity and actually help the osteoblast activity as you go over. That's huge. That's huge because just this nutrient alone, especially women, who are getting older into the menopausal ages, right? Menopause is kind of a jolt to the to women's bones, right, and to the skeletal system. So, you tend to have more osteoclast activity than you have osteoblast. Well, the Boswellia actually helped it because it took into account the hormonal changes and the oxidative stress that women go through. Huge, right? So that's a big thing as well. Boswellia also helps to provide antioxidant and other modulating effects in the pancreas and liver when it comes to blood sugar and cholesterol metabolism. Fantastic stuff there. So, very important. Um, in your brain, Boswellia provides antioxidant support and modulatory actions with blood sugar regulation, immune cells, and cleanup of aging brain cells. In your respiratory system, Boswellia supports and enhances activity of the innate and adaptive immune system responses in the respiratory system via modulation of NF kappa B and LOX enzymes. Again, we talked about the inflammatory activity that your body produces through, even just things like respiration and just normal going through life, right? So Boswellia helps with that as well. Intestinal barrier. Boswellia's antioxidant effects help protect and maintain the integrity of your gut barrier. Again, we talked about it as well. 70% of the immune system is in the gut. These antioxidant mechanism protect the tight junctions within the inner intestinal barrier from oxidative stress induced by diet, medication, stress, oxidation, all these things. And where this is important, again, we go back to the rheumatoid arthritis, right? Because again, it's been shown that many times rheumatoid arthritis has started in the gut because these tight junctions were no longer tight. So food particles start to go through, and this is where you start to get inflammatory process starting to take hold, right? Large food particles and unwanted immune compounds that start to enter the circulation and start to irritate the tissues. You get leaky gut syndrome, and eventually that can lead to osteoarthritis. So at the end of the day, Boswellia helps to tighten those junctions. This way, less of a chance of you dealing with those types of issues. Okay, so fantastic support with Boswellia. It's definitely something you can take a look at And again, it's been used for thousands of years for joint support, just overall health. So I think it's one of the wonder compounds and anti-inflammatory compounds that you could definitely use. And just to kind of piggyback on that, I'm going to do our nutrient spotlight because we were talking about Boswellia already. So next, it's going to be our nutrient spotlight for the week, and it's going to be on the bone and joint helper, or the bone and joint support from Wellness Resources, because one of the things that it contains is Boswellia, but it contains many other things as well. So a few of the things that it contains: number one, it contains a vitamin K2 as menaquinone 7. Okay, it's this powerhouse. And why is that important? Because vitamin K works with bone building carpenter cells, again, the osteoblasts, and adequate vitamin K is needed for calcium to properly attach to bones. This is one of the reasons why you need vitamin K along with calcium. Don't just take calcium by itself. I've been saying this for many, many years, and I've counseled people. And one of the things I tell them is you got to take a comprehensive bone support. It's not just about calcium, because you need calcium to be able to go to the right place, right? So vitamin K helps with calcium getting into the bone, okay? And that's why it's essential, okay? And this form of vitamin K, which is menaquinone 7, has been demonstrated with high absorption, and it's a longer life in the blood. And it's also an excellent boost, helps to, as far as boosting the biologically active osteocalcin, okay, in the body. Very, very important. Okay. Then it also contains what's called Cal's bone, and it's a clinically tested extract from the herb Cistus quadrangularis. Now, this herb has been used for over 1,000 years in traditional Ayurvedic medicine, and this the research on this supports the use of this nutrient to support healthy bones, maintain good bone strength, enhance calcium absorption, and help to maintain optimal levels of bone density. Now, Cissus quadrangularis has been shown to have beneficial and protective effects on the digestive tract, helping to support the proper structure of the stomach lining. So again, along with Boswellia, this herb also does that as well. Okay. Then we have what's called Frute XB boron. This is the only food form source of boron available for dietary supplements. It is a unique calcium boron a carbohydrate molecule. And what it does is supports vitamin D metabolism, calcium metabolism, collagen activity, as well as bone and joint support. Okay. Then we have the 5-loxin boswellia, which we talked about. Again, it's in this supplement as well. We just talked about all the benefits of what boswellia does, so it's in there as well. And then we have vitamin D. Why is vitamin D important? You got to have vitamin D. Vitamin D is also helping supports this bone and joint, well, your bone and joints in general, right? Because again, vitamin D is one of the things that helps calcium absorb in the body in the first place. So you get a good amount of vitamin D in this formula as well. And this is why, again, Wellness Resources, they've done so much research on these formulas, and they know exactly what to put together in the right amounts, exactly how to put them together. And this is why they're so fabulous. I mean, these supplements, by the way, again, have been clinically tested for many years, since 1985. And I don't go anywhere else for this stuff. This is why I've used these supplements for almost 17 years now, and they just never disappoint. So again, for those of you who want to take a look at it, it is Bone and Joint Helper from Wellness Resources. Go to myvitaminresource.com, check it out. Fantastic supplement for bones and arthritis, or whatever you're dealing with. Just for that type of support, check it out. You will be glad you did. And finally, I want to just talk a little bit about my issues when it comes to my bone structure, okay, and what I do. For those of you who didn't hear, I've talked about some of the training that I do and that I've done for many years now to help support my joints. And just a quick recap of my story. I've had back problems. I was diagnosed with spinal stenosis many years ago, And it's one of those things where you think about, well, spinal stenosis is, typically spinal stenosis, old people get it, right? That's one of the first things you think about. Well, no. Now mine came from a combination of sports injuries because I was very active in sports when I was younger, but also bad posture and just not taking care of my back. My back was also very weak. So what I used to go through was I had very bad sciatica pain, lower back pain, and sciatica pain. I would be standing up for long periods of time. I'd be on a line. My wife could tell you this. I'd be on a line for something, and boy, I was in such pain. And it would radiate all the way down my leg. And it was horrible. There were times, where I couldn't get out of bed, or I had a hard time getting out of bed. I had a hard time putting on socks. I had a hard time putting on shoes or whatever the case may be. So it was tough. Then I found what's called foundation training. And this was started by a chiropractor named Dr. Eric Goodman. And it was started by him because he had his own back problems. I know he was a weightlifter and he was into fitness and all this, but he had very, very bad back problems. So he kind of went back to the drawing board. He said, okay, what, what different exercises can we do that are actually functional, that help the body and that actually can strengthen what's called the posterior chain of the body. And the posterior chain is your back, right? Your back muscles going all the way from the top, all the way down, even down to your hamstrings, all the way down, because all that plays an important role in your back, right? Even if your hamstrings are tight, they're pulling down on your lower back. Okay. So it's all connected. And what he realized is if you strengthen the posterior chain and you make that a priority, and you use not only a combination of strength and flexibility, it can actually help to, lessen the back problems, lessen the pain, and get people out of pain. So what he came up with was a series of exercises that can be done 10 to 15 minutes. And you can do them before or after your workout, or you can do them, when you get up in the morning or whatever the case may be. And again, it doesn't have to, it's not something that you have to do for an hour. I mean, literally you can do 15 minutes and get relief, because that's what I did. I started just taking it. I actually found it from YouTube. I literally just took one of his back exercises, his lower back exercise, and I said, you know what? Let me try it. And I started doing it every single day. And sure enough, my back pain literally started to go away little by little. I found I had less and less back pain. And to this day, this is going on 10 years now of using this system. And to this day, I am pain free. And I have to thank foundation training for it, because it's changed my life. I'm able to, I have a 15-year-old daughter. I'm able to play catch with her, I'm able to play basketball with her. I'm able to do all these things. I couldn't do that. I wouldn't be able to do those things effectively when I was younger because of all the pain and all the problems that I had. But now I'm able to do this. Okay. And one of the exercises, or the main exercise that foundation training is based off of, is called the founder. Okay. So, this is what the founder looks like for those of you who are watching. It's a very straightforward exercise and it looks very easy, but it's harder. But those of you who are listening, by the way, you can go onto YouTube and just, put in foundation training founder and you'll see pictures of it. Or you just go online or go to foundationtraining.com. You'll see pictures of that as well. But this is the basic premise, the first exercise that it's based off of. And again, that exercise is strengthening your posterior chain of your body to eventually be able to lessen the pain and just help with your mobility. And I'm telling you, it's a fantastic form of exercise. So I would definitely check that out. And that's what I use. This is what I use to I do it every single day for the most part. Besides my other training that I do, I also use the Total Gym, which is fantastic. It's more of a 360-degree movement with using kind of bands and that type of thing. But a combination of these two works perfectly with me, because I like to keep my bones healthy by building the muscle around them. Okay. Very, very important. And I can honestly say I'm getting older, but I have no joint or hip or knee or problems. Again, my back sometimes gets a little stiff, but other than that, I'm good to go. So just a tip for you guys, that's what I do every day. So if you're looking to take a look at that, it's foundationtraining.com. And by the way, I don't get paid to say this. I have no affiliation with them except that I use their training. But check it out, foundationtraining.com. Dr. Eric Goodman, thank you so much for having this for coming up with this system. And hopefully I can get him on the show one day and we can really dive in and talk about it. So stay tuned. But other than that, that's what I use. And I hope you guys can take a look at that because it's very beneficial. Okay. So, all right. So that's it for this week. Hope you guys got a lot of information and hope you guys have a great week. Take care of yourselves and each other. And as always, take control of your health.